Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's PlayHQ update webinar. My name is Kevin Ng. I'm the Data and Digital Coordinator at Basketball Victoria, and tonight I'm joined by Danny Cornwall, the Community Lead at PlayHQ, and Chantel Cox, Digital Support Officer at Basketball Victoria. Before we get started, I just want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we meet tonight. I am on Wurundjeri country, and I'd like to pay my respects to all elders past, present, and emerging. Now, tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to get Danny to take you through some of the new features of PlayHQ, headlined by the My Hoops app, and then other features that are in the admin console and the playhq.com public-facing site, such as additional payment methods available to registrants, the ability for association and club administrators to download invoices, the ability of association administrators to see allocations from different competitions within their association and from other associations altogether at the same shared venues, and also play-by-play, which can be seen in game centers across the app and on playhq.com. And then for the second part of the webinar, I'm going to take you guys through what club administrators need to do to get set up for upcoming seasons, such as the impending winter 2024 season. I anticipate tonight's session will go for about 45 minutes. It will be recorded, so if you do miss anything, you'll be able to watch the replay back tomorrow once the link gets sent around. And if you've got any questions throughout tonight's webinar, feel free to pop them in the Q&A function in Zoom, and Chantel will be on hand to answer what she can tonight. And if there's anything we can't get to, we'll make sure we reply by email with the answer. So I might throw it over to you now, Danny, to talk about My Hoops.
Awesome. Thanks, Kev. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I hope wherever you are in the state, you are keeping cool. I know it's quite warm where I am, so hopefully you've got a pool somewhere that you can go and relax in after the webinar. So to kick us off tonight, really excited to announce that the My Hoops app was released just last week. The My Hoops app, so it's been out in the wild for a week, and since launch has already had just over 40,000 downloads and is trending in the app stores. The My Hoops app was designed for the basketball community, and it allows you to favorite players, teams, clubs, associations, as well as the ability to follow along live scores. The My Hoops app is free and can be downloaded from the Apple Store or the Google Play Store for any Android users out there. Rather than me talking about it, I'll jump in now and give you a quick demonstration on how easy it is to use the new My Hoops app. Thank you, Kev. I'm just going to take over the sharing of the screen from Kev for a minute there. And hopefully you can all see my phone there. We are logged into the My Hoops app. I've already downloaded the app onto my phone and we're in. The first thing I want to show you how to do within the My Hoops app is how you can easily search for players, clubs, teams, and associations and add them to your favorites so that they appear on your home screen. As you can see, I've already got the Pacers under 10 girls favorited to my home screen at the moment, but I'll show you how you can add others. So all we need to do is we need to select the add button there. And then as you can see, you get the option to choose between player, team, grade, club, or association. Tonight for the demonstration, I'm going to search for a player, and I can search for any player within Victoria who is playing basketball. So I'm going to type in Anthony Del Sasso. He works here at PlayHQ in our support team, and I know he's an avid basketballer. And as you can see, it's brought up Anthony. He currently plays in the Altona Basketball Association, and I can open him up and I can view his career statistics. So as you can see, he's got a few fouls there. I can also view his seasons, so the seasons that he's currently playing in, plus the seasons that he has previously played in. And then I can also view the team details for Anthony as well. So I can see he's currently playing in the Moops, and if I needed to, I could open up that team and view the fixtures and any results and the ladder for that particular team as well. If we go back to Anthony's home page here, what I want to do to favorite him, all I need to do is select the star up in the top right-hand corner, The app will ask me whether I also want to favorite any teams that Anthony's currently playing in, which I do. And all I do is select yes, favorite teams. If I go back to my home screen now, I can now see Anthony, and I can also see the Moops are appearing on my home screen. One of the really great things about the app is if I've got multiple children playing across multiple teams within basketball, I can now see both of their schedules if I scroll down on my home screen there. So it makes it really easy to manage kids playing across multiple teams and multiple competitions, which is awesome. The other really cool thing about the app is I can follow along with live scores. So for anyone who can't make it to the game, I can jump in, I can view exactly what's happening at a game in any given time. I've got my Pacers here who are already on my home screen, and as you can see, they are currently playing at the moment, and they are getting beaten by the Panthers at the moment. But all we need to do is we can open up the game and we can follow along with the live scores here. Another really cool feature is the ability to share this game. If I wanted to send it to my mum, who I knew was also interested in following this game, I can hit the share up in the top right-hand corner and I can send that on to her. The other really cool thing, I can follow along with play-by-play details. So the scorers are at the game, they're entering the scores as they're happening, the events as they're happening. I can view the play-by-play details for this game as well, which is really awesome. I'm going to go back to the home screen here. The other thing, rather than selecting add on the home screen here, I can also use the search bar down in the bottom right-hand corner. And I can use the search bar again to search for any player that plays basketball within Victoria, or I can also use the clubs and associations here to search for any club or association. Once I've favorited all my players, I can also view my favorited players by selecting the favorites down the bottom here. And if I need to at any given stage, I can also unfavorite someone if I need to. All I need to do is I can open them back up and I can deselect the star there and they'll be removed from my home screen. Really excited that the app is now out there. As I said, we've already got lots of people out there who have downloaded and are using the app. That's pretty much as simple as it is to use the My Hoops app. So after tonight, hopefully all of you can go away, download the app, and we can't wait to see you all using it out and about.
Thanks for that, Danny. I just want to add a couple of things. So it's not just about favoriting members of your family or your kids. You can also favorite your friends, your mates, your friends' kids, your nephews, your grandkids, all that kind of stuff. And also with the privacy in PlayHQ, every account holder has the ability to hide profiles of their dependents or themselves from public view. So if if someone finds themselves in a situation where they've got like an AVO, a sensitive situation where they don't want their location to be known and not be searchable in My Hoops, they can go to their account and set the profile to private so that the safety and security of all players is paramount there with the app. Now, Chantel, were there any questions regarding the app that were maybe of interest to everyone else that we can answer live?
Just had the one question, and that was, can the teams we favourite and pin on My Hoops be personalised so that the name stands out to that person?
Sorry, can you repeat that question, Chantal?
So when a team is favorited, they wanted to know if they can personalise that name so that it stands out. So say my son, my daughter.
Oh, no, good question. No, at the moment, the team name that will appear will be the team name that is in the fixtures and the ladders. You are unable to personalise at this stage.
All right, thanks for that, Chantel and Danny. And we might move on to other aspects of PlayHQ in terms of enhancements that have been developed in recent times.
Awesome. Thanks, Kev. So as Kev mentioned at the start of the presentation, on top of the app, we have also released a heap of new exciting features, which we're super excited to share with you tonight. The most exciting of the new features are the additional payment methods, which are now available for players when they are paying for their registration fees via PlayHQ. So at checkout now, we now have MasterCard Click to Pay, Google Pay, and PayPal, including the ability to pay in full via PayPal. We know that basketball clubs and associations have been asking for the ability for their players to pay via installments for quite a while now. So we're really excited that that this feature is now available. And in even better news, the clubs and associations don't need to do anything on their end in order to turn on Pay in 4. Simply by taking your registration fees via PlayHQ, so entering those fees into your registration forms, your players will have the option to pay in 4 at the time that they check out. So what does that actually mean? A little bit more about Pay in 4. If a player chooses to pay in 4 at the time of registration, the club or association will receive all of the money up front, and the player enters into an agreement with PayPal and they pay off the 4 equal installments to PayPal. This is a really huge benefit, a big win for all clubs and associations out there, because it means that you'll get your money up front and it saves you the time of having to chase up each player for each installment that they owe you. Another benefit of the Pay in 4 is that there are no extra fees associated for clubs or associations. When a player pays in 4, it's the same fees as if they were paying their fees up front. Disbursements from PayPal will look a little bit differently, so they will still go into your nominated bank account, but at the moment they will occur on a monthly basis. So what that means for clubs and associations is you'll now receive 2 payouts. One of the payouts will continue as normal, so the payouts that you've been getting on a regular basis, they will continue, and then you will also get a payout from PayPal once a month. The financial reports in PlayHQ have been updated to reflect the 2 different payouts, so it's still really nice and easy to reconcile all those payments. We're really excited that Pay in 4 is now available. We know clubs and associations have been asking for it for a while, and it's also really exciting that we can offer participants more flexibility when it comes to paying their registration fees. It's a huge benefit to all clubs and associations. It gives you the ability to collect your fees up front. And as I said, no more chasing of those player fees. All you need to do is simply add in your registration fees into your form, which Kev will take you through a little bit later in tonight's presentation. Thanks, Kev. The next slide, please. Awesome. The next feature is the ability for clubs and association administrators to download a player's invoice from within the admin portal. Previously, this was a task that clubs needed to reach out to Basketball Victoria support, and then it was something that needed to be completed by the PlayHQ support team. But now you will all have access to do that. So if a player loses their email that the invoice has been sent to, they can reach out to you and you can download that for them. So within a participant's profile, you'll notice a new tab for invoices, and from here you can download the appropriate invoice for them. Thanks, Kev. Another new feature in PlayHQ is the ability for an association to get an overview of all competitions on the allocation screen. This can be used to identify clashes of games at shared venues, and that's not only within your own association, but also across other associations as well. In the past, I know some associations have combined their junior and senior competitions because this feature was not available. So this will mean now that you can separate those competitions out because you'll have access to view all games across competitions on the one screen. This feature, it really helps provide greater visibility to associations when it comes time to allocating those games. And again, I know that associations have been asking for this feature, so it's a really great that it's now available. And as you'll see on the screen here, so on the left-hand side will be the games that are in the competition that you're currently viewing. And then the middle column there is games at other competitions that you're running. And on the right-hand side there are games at other associations. So as you can see all the games that are scheduled on those shared venues. Thanks, Kev. Okay, last but definitely not least, and we did just see this in the app, is the play-by-play feature. So play-by-play has been released into PlayHQ, and it can be accessed via the game centers on playhq.com and also within the My Hoops app. So when a game is being live scored, just as we saw, you can see the events as they happen, which gives everyone who's following along at home a better experience. That play-by-play data will continue to be available after the game, so anyone can go in and have a look retrospectively and see how the events of the game unfolded. We know this feature is already being used. It's really popular, and it's really come at a great time. So it goes hand in hand with the release of the MyHoops app. That's all from me. Thank you, everybody. We can't wait to hear how you are enjoying all of those new features over the coming months. I'll hand it over to you, Kev.
Yeah, thanks for that, Danny. I might just at this point check in with Chantel again. Is there any questions that may be of interest to the wider group?
No.
If not, we'll keep moving along. Okay, so for now until the end of the webinar, I'm going to take everyone through what club administrators need to do to set up for an upcoming season. So we're going to do a bit of a database health check to make sure everything's correct, because things might have changed since last season. I'm going to talk you through the process of accepting an invitation from an association and viewing competition season. I'm going to talk about registration supplements. So we're talking about discounts here, custom fields, products, and capping of players per age group. I'll take you through the two types of registration forms and we'll set one of them up. And then we'll fast forward in time to once registrations close and the process of creating teams, assigning players to those teams, and then assigning teams to grades. So I'm just going to flick over to here and hopefully this is working well. Now I'm in the test system for tonight's demonstration, so it's a little bit different to what you guys are used to seeing, but where you guys need to go is bv.playhq.com. And then from there, you can log into your club database. Now, for the purpose of tonight's demo, I'm using a club called Kev's Club. Now, the first thing I encourage you guys to do at this time when setting up for a season is to check that your club settings are all correct. So to do that, you go into My Organization and Overview. The Details tab here shows stuff that is mostly public facing. So it's important to make sure that all of your information is correct. You could set your logo there, which also displays on your club page and fixtures. Over here, you've got the general inquiries line for your club. Okay, so it's important to make sure that they're accurate because they're displayed at the bottom of your PlayHQ page for members and prospective members to get in contact with you. The address of your club, if you have one, if not, you can leave it blank. But the lats and longs, really important to put them in. You can go to Google Maps, find your geographic center or your home base, right click and pop in your lats and longs, and that ties in with MyHoops, and for associations it ties in with PlayHoops, which is our like looking for an association or to enter a team or enter as a player. In the formats, you can select what your club offers. And down the bottom here, we've got terms and conditions and the club team abbreviation. We highly recommend that you put together your policies, terms and conditions, your club rules into a document and upload that to your website or your socials. And if you configure it that way and pop it in here, what you can do is set it up so that when anyone registers to your club, they're agreeing to your terms and conditions. So it makes sure everyone is aware of the expectations of them by being a member of this club. And also, if you have any issues during the season, you can always refer back to it and give yourself a foot to stand on if a parent or a player is being difficult. The club team abbreviation forms the prefix for when you put together your teams. So my team is called Kev's Club, but I don't want my teams to be called Kev's Club something. I want my teams to be called Kev and then something. I'll explain and show that creation of a team process later on, but this forms the foundation of that. In the Contacts tab, what we'd like you to do is put in all of your committee members or staff, if applicable, at your club, and all of their contact details. Now, it's important for this to be done because it enables people like myself and others at Basketball Victoria to contact the appropriate people when needed. Now, another suggestion I would make, and probably a recommendation I would make, is that you can toggle each one of these rows to visible or invisible. I would suggest you leave it on hidden because otherwise this entire row and contact details will be printed on your, will be publicly listed at the bottom of your PlayHQ page. But really important to get this filled in so that we know who to contact, and also down the track we'll be using this this contacts area to make contact with you for future webinars and updates about PlayHQ and basketball in general in Victoria. Now, I'll just quickly touch on this, the payment section. If you haven't already set up your payment gateway or your banking details, you can pop it into there. So when you do take registrations in PlayHQ, the funds will be dispersed to the correct bank account. Now, over here on the left in admins is who has access to your club PlayHQ database. So we would recommend that you keep people with full access to a minimum and only select a few, because everyone who's got access to your club database and full access can view sensitive information about all of your participants, etc. So it's important to give this to only those who really need it, and not too many people. Another thing we always suggest is to not use shared or role-based email addresses, because this can cause issues when someone leaves the committee. Okay, now I'm just going to touch on here programs. If you ever run anything that's non-competition related, like you might run a holiday camp or a beginner program, that's done there in programs. But just note that if you're running a beginner program, you need to get in contact with us, because that's something that we need to set up for you. That's not something that you could set up by yourself. Okay, now in the competition section, all the rows in my competitions are competition seasons that your club is participating in. Over here in invitations, you'll get invited by associations to participate in their competition season. So in this example, the Kev UAT Association has invited me to participate in their junior domestic competition for winter 2024. So any association can invite any club to participate. You can either decline it or accept it. Now, in this case, I'm going to be fielding teams in the junior domestic competition for winter, so I'm going to accept that invite. Once you accept that invite, it's going to be over here as a row on the left in my competitions. Now, the next thing I'd like to talk about is registration supplements. So the first one is merchandise. So over here on the left, you can go to products and you can create merchandise to sell at the point of registration. Now, here's one that I prepared earlier, which is the club hoodie. So in here, you can give your item a name. You can show the image of what the registrant will be buying. You could set things up like variants like size and customization. And you could set pricing according to different variations of those customizations. You can choose whether it's a pickup or delivery, and you can also ask custom fields. So in this case, what name would you like on the back of your hoodie? And then we'll get that printed on the back of your hoodie. So that's how you set up a product, and that can be exposed on a registration form for people to choose to buy at the point of registration. The next thing I'd like to talk about is discount vouchers. So in my organization and overview and the vouchers tab, you've got the ability to set up vouchers. So it's a bit like a coupon code when you go and do online shopping. So as you can see on the top there, these are a couple examples of what you could do with vouchers. might be a good idea for you, club administrators, to set those up, because to reward you and coaches for all the hard work that you put in voluntarily for your club. So other examples of this might be if a child has registered for one season, has broken their arm in round one, isn't able to play the rest of the season, you might say, look, I can't refund you, but I'll give you a voucher and credit for the next season. You can create a voucher. So you click into here, you give the voucher a name. Now, I would always recommend that you might name it something like this. And then the reasons for the voucher. You might say, the Cornwall family discount, okay? And set the voucher value, which is how much you want to take off the fee. You can then set how many times the voucher can be used, and you can turn the voucher on and off. It's always a balance with the number of times the voucher can be used, because for efficiency, you might set the voucher to be used 100 times. If you might have a more generic voucher that applies to multiple people. But the problem with that is the more the greater the number there, the more times it can be used, the higher the risk where the voucher might end up in the wrong hands, and someone who you don't want to use that voucher ends up with a voucher and can use it. So if you did set that to 1, it's very low risk, because it can only be used once. And if the person who you gave it to chooses to give it to someone else, well, that's their bad luck. Okay, so that's how you create a voucher. And once you have created that voucher, that is the code that you provide to the registrant or the parent or player. And you can monitor how many times the code has been used. All right, the next registration supplement I'm going to show you guys is within the competition season. So the first 2 were not really related specifically to a season, whereas the next 3 are. And they can be found in the registration tab within the competition season that I just accepted the invitation for. The first one I want to talk through is custom fields. So in PlayHQ, registrants are asked for pretty standard information, demographics, contact information, etc. If there's something you want to ask them that's over and above the standard, you can do so in custom fields by adding a new participant custom field. So in this case, we might be asking, what is your basketball experience? And in type, there's 2 types. There's a text box where they can just type whatever that they want in there. So you might be saying, list. Another one that's quite popular is name a maximum of 2 or 3 other friends that you want to be placed in the same team as, or is there a particular night that you cannot train? So that would be more, or a particular night and times you cannot train. So that might be a text box open field where they could type stuff in. Or you might want to create a drop down where they've got to pick from a select certain options that you configure. So you might say, I've got no basketball experience. I've played in the backyard with my sibling or in the schoolyard. I've played domestic before, or I've played representative basketball before. And then they have to pick from one of these. You could also choose whether the field is mandatory or optional. And down here, you could choose which roles you want to ask this question of. So I might not want to ask the question of them, I only want to ask it of players. And you can choose which forms you want this question to be asked on, which I'll explain later. So we'll create that custom question, custom fields. In age groups, so this is relatively new to PlayHQ, and I'm a massive fan of it, and I think club administrators, you'll be massive fans of this as well. So this is configured by your association. Now, if your association hasn't configured this, it might be for a couple of reasons. A couple of them might be like where it's not appropriate. For example, some associations might not have dedicated or hard and fast age groups. They might be flexible depending on where the numbers lie. But for a lot of the larger associations, age groups are predefined, they're set in stone. So they will configure what age groups are offered at their association, and PlayHQ, they'll also stipulate the effective date of calculating a participant's age as at, and PlayHQ will work out the age group or the natural age group of players. So when players register, you no longer have to scratch your head and work out, is this player an under 14 or an under 12? Which, what's their date of birth? PlayHQ works that out all for you if your association has configured age group. So if they haven't as yet done that, I'd encourage you to have a chat to them and see if they can do that for you. The other benefit of this is you can limit the number of registrants you take for a particular age group and gender. Okay, so you might have a cap of 50 players for under 14 males, and you can stipulate that here in age groups. You can also switch off, particular, like you might say under 14s is full, so I'm going to turn that off. Okay, so you've got a bit of control over who you allow in here. The last registration supplement I want to talk to you about is family member discounts. So your club might have a policy that says, a pricing scheme that says, we're going to charge this much for the first child, and every subsequent child will have a set percentage off. So if I turn this on and set it to 20% off for all subsequent registrations, what will happen is, say if it's $100 for the first child, you set that as your standard price. So they pay $100. The second child will pay $80. The third child will pay $80, and so on. So it's for every subsequent registration with the same account to the same competition season at the same organization. Okay, and it's a set fee. All right, now looking at registration forms. There's two types of registration forms in PlayHQ. There is the participant to club registration form and the participant to club team registration form. Now, I dare say for domestic clubs, 75 to 80% of you will use participant to club, whilst the rest will use participant to club team. You'll only use participant to club team if the team of the player is known at the time that they register. So what will happen is you'll have team-specific links that you send to specific respective players or parents. Whereas most of you will probably use participant to club, where everyone registers centrally. You look at your numbers for all the age groups and genders, and then you'll put them in teams. Okay, so for today's demo, I'm going to set this one up, but the second form is exactly the same. So first thing we need to do is set our registration period. And this is when Regos open and Regos close. Now, I dare say for most of the time, when you go to do this, you want to set any day before today so that registrations are open once you finish configuring this form. The end date, as a general rule of thumb, I like to work off 1 month before the season start date, because you need to look at who's registered, work out how many teams you need, work out who's in what team, enter the team into the association's grades. Then the association will need a week to look at the teams entered, grading, and then do their fixture, and then another week to, part of that to do their grading, fixturing, and also get the fixtures out to you with plenty of notice ahead of round 1. So in this case, I'm going to set that to March 17th at 11:55 p.m. Now, moving along, if your association has set up age limits, that means restrictions where you can't register unless you're born between 2 dates, it will show here. Every player will have to pay the Basketball Victoria license if due. And likewise, the Basketball Australia Game Development Levy if due, which was introduced by Basketball Australia at the start of this year. This one here, $29 for those under 18 at the date of registration, or $43 for 18 plus at the date of registration, whereas for the Basketball Australia levy, it's a $5.50 fee flat rate for everyone. Without going into too much detail, the way it works for both memberships, and also noting that some people have different expiry dates for both, is when you're registering, the system will check, does this registrant's expiry date occur after the end of the season? If it does expire after the end of the season, you don't need to pay for that membership because you're already covered for the entirety of the season. If it expires before the end of the season, you will need to pay in advance of it expiring so that you do not lapse mid-season. Now over here, you've got the basketball associations fee, and in this case, it's $0 per player. And here I could set my club fee, so I'm going to set that to $200. You've got the option to charge players based on their age and gender. So, for example, you might want to offer a discount for girls because you want to increase your female participation. So you could set that up here, or variance where you allow the participant or the registrant to choose which fee they'd like to pay or what level of membership they'd like to pay. So one example of this might be you want your full membership players to pay $200, but I want my older kids to only pay $150 because we don't offer training for under 18s, for example. Okay, so that can be done in variants. Now, coaches and team managers will also use the same form, and we highly encourage you to get all of your coaches and team managers to register because you capture their working with children checks and you can assign them to teams. However, I also highly recommend that you do not charge your coaches and team managers because it's hard enough to recruit them at the best of times, let alone if you were charging them. Now, any custom fields that you set up before will automatically appear here. And if you want to add merchandise that you set up, you can do so here. And you can choose whether coaches, players, team managers are offered the ability to buy this and whether the product is mandatory or not. The fundraising section, if you like, you could set up it's like a donation kind of thing where you might be trying to raise money for a particular cause, or you might be trying to raise money to build a new stadium or something like that. You can do that using a fundraiser. Over here, you got the ability to put a bit of pricing information. So you might want to write a bit about your club fees and how much uniforms cost if you got to buy that a different way. And additional information might be games are on Saturdays, but we train on Thursday nights at these venues. I always recommend you switch this on all the time, even if you haven't configured your terms and conditions at the start, because if you haven't got it, it won't show. But if you get in the habit of switching this on, and once you do configure your terms and conditions, it will display. And down the bottom here, you can control the visibility of your registration form. So for now, I'm going to set that to visible. Okay. Now, most people will go straight for that link because that is the direct link for the form that we've just configured. However, in most cases, I would actually recommend that you do not use that link just for now and keep that up your sleeve later. And I'll explain the first use case for that. What I'd recommend you send is your registration page link. So in this case, I'm at playhq.com and I'm going to search for my club. There it is. And I've got two tabs here. I've got a fixtures and ladders tab and I've got a register tab. So if I click on the register tab, I can now see the form that I configured because I set it to visible. In most cases, I would recommend that you use this link here. There's three reasons for this. The first one is it is a one-stop shop for everything at your club. So if you run beginner programs or holiday camps, it's one link for everything to register to at your club. Your club might also play at multiple associations. Okay, so it's one registration link. The second thing is it doesn't change season to season. So you don't need to update your website every season with different links. You don't need to update your emails that you send out to all your members every season. One link for all seasons. And it will just display whatever forms that you make visible, and you'll hide one for one season and expose the next one for the next season. The third and most important reason, I believe, is it gives you a bit of control over late registrations. So just say that you didn't use age group limits. What I'd recommend you do on March 18th, I would do this. I would go into your registration form settings after registrations have closed. I would extend it out by a couple of weeks and make the form hidden. And because you've only ever, I'm going to refresh this page, and because you've only ever advertised this link here, they'll come to here to register late, and there's no forms available because registrations are closed. They'll then scroll down the bottom and look at your general inquiries line, points of contact. They'll either call you or email you and say, like one example might be, hey, I'm the parent of under 12 boy. I'm sorry I've missed the deadline. can you squeeze me in? Now you might say, sorry, we're actually full because I've got just the right number of players for just the right amount of teams. And if I take on you, they've got to find another 7 players to fill another team, which might not happen. The other thing you might say is you might go, well, this parent and player was giving us grief last year. You're late. We're not going to take you back. The next case might be they might call up and say, hey, I'm the parent of an under 18 girl. And you might find that you're struggling to fill your under 18 girls team. So you might say, I do want to let you in. So what I'd do now is I'd go back here. You've extended out the registration expiry date, but you've hidden the form. So no one can see the form. No one can register unless you send them this hidden link. And you can selectively send this link to who you want to allow in late, and thus giving you control over that. Whereas if you sent this link out from the start, you've lost control and someone else can jump in when you extend out the registration form. Now, on the other hand, some clubs might like to allow their existing members in first before opening up to new registrants. So in that case, I would recommend that you set your registration period to what it is that you want. So in this case, go back to the 15th of March, and I would leave the form hidden, send this link out to existing members, give them a couple of weeks to register first before you make the form visible, and then you send all new members to the registration tab or your website, which points to the registration tab. And then that way, your existing players have first crack at getting into each age group, especially if you've got limits, and then you open it up to everyone else. If you're using the participant, the club team registration form, it's exactly the same to set up the form, except there are team-specific links, which I will show you guys in a second. Cool. So right at this point in time, registrations are open. You have a bit of a break. Keep your fingers crossed. Hope plenty of players register to your club for the upcoming season. Before I'll show you the next part after registrations close, where we fast forward a couple of weeks in advance. But I might just pause at this point. Chantel, are there any questions regarding what I've covered so far with configuring the registration form and supplements?
There was a question about the visible and non-visible function.
In regards
how
to
that works. In regards to the contacts, sorry.
Oh, in regards to the
overview
contacts.
and contacts. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll do this example here. So if I go to contacts and let's say Mike over here, let's make him visible. So at the moment, everyone's hidden, and on the public facing site, there's nothing there. Okay. But if I make Mike visible and refresh this page, it will show Mike's contact details there. Okay. So that's why we look in nine times out of 10, I would suggest you don't do that because your president probably doesn't want to get phone calls to their private mobile number. So, but it's important to put all this stuff in here so the Basketball Victoria know who to contact in a particular need, or if we need to, send out information to clubs. All right, so I'm going to flick across to the summer season, just because I've got some registrants in there. But we're fast forwarding a couple of weeks ahead where registrations have closed. So once registrations have closed, the first thing you want to do, and you can monitor this during the registration period, is to go into participants. And you can see every participant that has registered to your club for this season. This is the age group pill that I was alluding to before. So if your association hadn't configured age groups, this column would not display. And you would have to look at every single player's date of birth and work out, okay, are they this age group or that age group? Whereas this just tells you what age group they are based on what the association has configured. So the other thing you can do is go to filters. Let's search for all of our girls that are under 10 and apply the filter. And what will happen is you'll only be shown your under 10 girls. So in this case, Ezzy's our only under 10 girl. Now, hopefully you'd have more than one, but you're going to have however many. You might look at, okay, I've got 30, I've got 40, let's say I've got 42 under 10 girls. Then you go, all right, roughly I want about 7 players in that team. So that gives me 6 teams. Okay, so it speeds up the process of managing your registrations once registrations close and working out how many teams I need to enter. Okay, so once you've worked out how many teams you need to enter, you can add a club team. You can roll over teams from a previous season where it just rolls over the team shell, team names, and then you got to pop players in again, or you could do them one by one. So in this case, I'm going to enter an under 10 mixed team, and I want you to pay close attention to here. So we've configured the club team abbreviation at the very start. So as I select my age group, it will start building my team name for me. And then over here, I might want to call this team the Stars. Okay, so it does it for you automatically. Now, if you like it, great. If you don't like it, you can go in there and modify it to whatever you want and then hit add team. Once we've created the team, you can add players to that team by using your filters and selecting the players to add to that team. You can then also add their singlet numbers. Okay, so she might be 1, he might be 2. The other thing you can add are your team staff. So your coaches and team managers and assistant coaches can be added over here. Now, the other thing I just want to touch on is this participant registration link. So in this case, I have set up my participant to club team registration. Now, I didn't show this to you guys because this is another season. But if you do configure your participant to club team form, the link for this specific team will be here. And if a player registers using this link, they will go straight into this team rather than going into an unallocated state where you've got to allocate the players to the team using the where in that case players have used the participant to club form. Now, once you've created your teams and allocated players and coaches to teams, you can go into the grades section. And while this is unlocked, you can allocate teams to grades. And I'm going to add my Kev Stars team into under 10 mixed. And then once you've added all of your teams into their respective grades, that's everything that you as a club administrator needs to do ahead of the upcoming season. And now it's on the association administrator to have a look and review those registrations, do a bit of grading, generate the fixture, and then we can start balling. Now, I'm just going to quickly touch on reports. So over here in competition reports, the report of that would be of the most interest to you is the participants report. So that will tell you every single participant that has registered to your competition season and all of their details. Now, I just want to make mention of this, and also it also applies to the financial report. We recommend that you do not email reports around because they contain a lot of sensitive information about all of your members. And in this day and age, you've got to be really careful with the security of your members' information. Now, in the financial section, your treasurer will be interested in this kind of information where the transaction report will show you everyone who's registered and how much they paid. The payout report will tell you all of the deposits made into your bank account. Now, Chantel, I might just pause again to see if there's anything, any questions that have been asked that may be of interest to the wider group, but if not, then we can keep moving along.
No.
No, all good. Okay, cool. Cheers for that. All right. So that's pretty much all a club administrator needs to do to get set up for a season. Now, nearly at the end here. So with support, there's 2 pages that I'd direct your attention to or get you to take note of and visit in need. So the first one is if you go to the Basketball Victoria website, basketballvictoria.com.au, and click on Resources Hub and Digital Support. So on there, we've got all of our recorded webinars that we've done over the last few years, and this one will be published there probably next week. A lot of information there about registration, insurance, and as I said, the webinars that have been recorded. The other one is support.playhq.com. So on here, if you ever wanting to know how to do something, or you've forgotten how to do something, or that was mentioned here, potentially, you can go to the PlayHQ support site and search for the relevant support article. There's a lot of good information on there. And if you need to contact us, you can go to the PlayHQ support site, scroll down a bit, and you'll find the Contact Us button. And what that does is it raises a support request that comes to Chantel and myself in the first instance, and then we can escalate to PlayHQ if required. Now, that concludes tonight's webinar. As mentioned, this has been recorded, and I'll send that recording out to everyone tomorrow. Please don't hesitate to get in contact with us if you need assistance via the Contact Us button at the PlayHQ support site. But other than that, thanks for attending. Stay cool and enjoy the rest of your evening.